Hello and welcome to our One Piece Rank the Character. This will be a new episodic series I'm going to try. I'm going to rank the series or rank characters from the series uh, on a variety of different subjects. Kind of just do an overall character ranking, just how they are in the series, what kind of role they play, how impactful they are, and as well as just uh, things like if they have any value that they bring to the entire series, or are they just filler. We will include filler characters um, from the anime. I'm going to do most of this ranking just based off of anime characters or characters that made their appearance in the anime. I know the manga, I'm just not familiar with the manga, but I've watched the entire series multiple times up to Wano. I stopped about halfway through Wano on Onigashima. I'm going to restart that arc here soon, now that it's finished. But without further ado, let's just get on. Let's start it. We're gonna be ranking it God tier, S tier, A, B, C characters, and then anything that's considered fodder and flashback characters. So let's start with our God tiers. So this isn't accounting for the characters, like some of the smaller characters, like the ones that pulled Luffy out of the barrel the first episode. Um, it's gonna. It technically has every character on here has a name, and those characters had a name, but they don't really play much of a role. Case could be argued about the filler characters, but I mean, they have dialogue. There's somewhat of a development happens. There's a start and a finish. Um, but anyways, let's start with our S tiers, or sorry, our God tiers. Right? There's no surprise about Shanks. Shanks is obviously God tier because of how little time he's spent in the series with how much impact he has had. He does like I think he's made more appearances in like openings and closings of the series than he has made physical appearances in like the series itself. Um, but yeah, just a quick reference. I'm not going to be mentioning any spoilers. I kind of want to just keep the series as clean as possible. So if you haven't seen the series up, or at least past the East Blue, we're doing the East Blue uh, tier list. So if you haven't seen the East Blue, I'd recommend stopping and coming back when you're ready. All right. So yeah, Shanks. There's not a lot we know about him in the East Blue. We just know he's red hair Shanks. He's got a scar on his right eye, and he loses his arm. All right, let's see here. Anything else we want to cover with Shanks? No, I think we're good. Let's do an S tier. Main guy Luffy, uh, the protagonist of the series. The Gum Gum Fruit has one of the best laughs in the series, one of the most welcoming laughs. Also an idiot, but I don't want to put him up in God tier. Um, in East Blue, like, in fact, I'm debating on even lowering him because the division between Shanks and Luffy in East Blue, or between Mihawk and Luffy in East Blue, it's a world apart. So we will see where we will leave Luffy. Um, let's clear up some fodder. Let's get rid of some individuals who are considered fodder. On just 1 second, I need to parse through this. Okay, her name's Rika. She feeds Zoro rice, made with sugar. Yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about with her. I'm also going to consider a lot of like your filler characters. I forgot her name. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can pull up her name. So I looked it up. Her name's Carmen. I know the story pretty much. It was a cook-off between her and Sanji. Um, I mean, there's really not much to it. I'm gonna put Helmeppo C. Not. I mean, if we're considering how he is in the East Blue, obviously he'd be down here, the bottom, F tier. But he does develop in the series, so I think that's essentially his only saving grace. Even then, when he's developed in the series, I'm not particularly a fan of him. Iron Fist Full Body is a waste of a character. Here's one that I feel like Jin or Geen. You have to forgive me. I don't remember the exact name if it's Jin or Geen. But he had potential to be further in the series, but he never like he was there for Baratier, and that's his whole arc is just him suffering and then being a first mate to Don Krieg. I'm actually just gonna put in B. Don Krieg, if he had a certain fighting style in like a fighting game, obviously his archetype would be frame traps or traps. All he do is he just stand at the edge of the stage and that's pretty much what happened in the whole fight is he just stood at the edge of the dock and just started throwing projectiles willy-nilly. He really didn't do much in forms of like combat or influence of the series, and he didn't get very far in the Grand Line. That's why he had to return. Let's see here. Flashback character, Kuina. Flashback, Kuina's dad. Anyone else that we can do as a flashback? Not right now. We'll see. Okay. Forgot his name, but he's one of the filler characters. He's not even like the main antagonist. He's there to collect what's it called? Like dragon scales, I think. This is the dragon Ryu, and her name is Oppi. I mean, as a character, I mean, she's honestly luggage as part of the whole story. Like for that filler, the main conflict was this guy named Eric, and he had a really cool devil fruit. He could manipulate if I'm not mistaken, you manipulate the density of air, or pretty much turn swords uh, out of like wind, which was kind of cool. The problem was his character design. He looks like a Who down in Whoville, like from Jim Carrey's Grinch. That's the impression I got with this guy. Okay. Captain Morgan is worse than Helmeppo, but like in East Blue, Helmeppo is just whiny. Captain Morgan is just wrong and arrogant. I've noticed like there are certain types in the East Blue that of certain characters that like you really don't see much of later in the series. Or maybe that's just how my impression is. There are still arrogant and smug characters, but like smug and weak, there's not a lot of. So Higuma, then we have the mayor of Orangetown. I mean, he's technically better than these guys. At least he fought for his town. He sucks, but he fought. Same with Shuju. Dog protected his shop. I mean, his owner passed away, but he's still watching over the shop. In fact, the dog was better than... Was it Choji or Kabaji? Richie. Richie's the name of the lion. Sorry. Is Richie better than these ones? And in no particular order, I'll circle back and see if any of these I want to move in any order that they're like still in the same tier, but some of them are like slightly better than others. Kobe's in B tier, but he's like right there. It's gonna be the end of B tier. Kobe doesn't do much to the series at the very beginning. He's a cabin boy. He's a little whiny boy that is too afraid of a slightly taller and much larger woman. That's the captain. Is afraid to stand up for himself. Luffy pretty much punches him in the face in front of the Marines to say that they're not friends to help him get his dreams. So a lot of his dreams stemmed from, and a bunch of characters, to be fair, all their dreams stem from the help of Luffy. Alright, let's see here. Who else? Put some A tiers. East Blue Zoro came in clutch. Absolutely came in clutch. There's no doubt about that. I'm gonna put Captain Kuro A tier. Though he wasn't strong, I mean, the guy was out of combat for several years. But what he was doing during that time was simply methodical. He was planning for this particular day. He set it up so one of his men would take the fall for him. In fact, he was one of the more famous, if not the most famous one, pirate in the East Blue, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. And then he just simply was caught, and they thought he was dead, and so he was no longer a threat. So he played a butler for 2.5 years to try and get an estate, or try and get the inheritance from Kaya. Kaya is, I mean, she's in the same category as flashback character, but she's still relevant, so I'm just gonna leave her. Where do I want to put her? She's the influence for Usopp. She helps Usopp pursue his dreams to become a great warrior of the sea, along with his dad. Uh, but during Syrup Village, she was kind of Usopp's motivator. So where does that stand? What? Be okay with that. Pepper, onion, carrot. Don't care. They're there. Gaimon. Fodder. He's the equivalent of a flashback, or not a flashback, equivalent of a filler character, but he was specifically drawn by Oda. And if I'm not mistaken, he's one of Oda's favorite characters ever drawn. I have to go back, but I think there was a quote that said, or someone asked him who was his favorite character he's ever made, and he said Gaimon. I'll have to have my sources. I'll have to source check that just to make sure that's correct. But if it's not, I'll just crop it out of the video. Mary. Mary in the yes, he's there. Actually, you know what? I would feel better about him being there. Mary in the series, like, actually does play a role. Obviously, he gave the ship to the Straw Hats. But I was a little saddened or disheartened when he was in the live action, what happened to Mary. Like, yes, he pretty much was stabbed in the back by Kuro, but, like, he still does make his appearance alongside Kaya anytime we revisit Syrup Village later in the series, like, whenever there's a pan to this area and see their reaction of what's going on with the Straw Hats. I'm gonna be honest. I think I skipped over Zoro. Like I put him in Super, but I didn't actually explain why I put him in Super. The S tier. Zoro has this deficit where he's always like hurt, injured, or has some kind of, for lack of a better term, handicap. Um, and then fights against characters that are significantly more powerful. For example, the Meowmin brothers. I'm gonna put the Meowmin brothers right here. This guy took him on 2-on-1. And I think he, if I'm not mistaken, he was missing a sword, or he was only using one sword. Uh, so yeah, literally we can kind of compare over and over again multiple times that he had some kind of deficit. So in Baratie, he was MIA, taking on Dracula Mihawk. He was tied up in Logstown. He was stabbed in Orangetown and had to carry Luffy in a cell while fighting, and then afterwards was fighting Kabaji. Yeah, this guy literally just plays the role of, like, he's stronger than you think he is because he can still do what he needs to do despite having a deficit, which I think is still S tier. That's the definition of S tier. He can carry himself even when he's not at full potential. I don't care what you guys say, Johnny and Yosaku are like the best. They're bounty hunters. I mean, do they do anything to the series? Not really. They're there. Uh, one of them like almost dies as they're introduced because they don't know how to prepare food properly or know how to prepare for the siege. So one of them almost died at the beginning, but they're like the equivalent of the cheer squad for the series. Even though they can fight, like there's not really much they do other than just root on everyone else. I think we're gonna make a quick deviation and call this flashback motivators. Okay. And if that's the case, I'm gonna move him here. And then we're gonna put Belmir. And Nami's sister. Oh, what's her name? Gotta look it up. 1 second. Nojiko. Of course, Nojiko. Are there any other motivator? Well, obviously. Zeph. I want to be careful on putting this here. He's a flashback, he's a motivator, but he's God tier. Goldie Roger is literally the reason for every one of these characters to be here. Makino. Makino's the equivalent of like that one neighbor that when you were growing up that like knew you kids were around, and if you were ever in a pickle they would help out, but they never really were involved. Maybe that's just how I grew up, but like they were around the scene but they weren't in the scene. That's how I feel about Makino. I'm gonna put Arlong in A, but I'm putting him behind Kuro. Arlong was arrogant. He was prideful. He didn't really. Yes, he was strong enough, but not enough to back it up. Like, he only had immunity because of this asshole. He's just fodder. What's his name? Nezumi. Putting Usopp in A. Right here. I can't call him God yet. He's not quite God level. You can argue this all you want, he's not quite God level. I forget both their names. One of them's Patty, I just don't remember the other one. They're the top of fodder. They walk the talk, but they don't really do anything afterwards. Their bark is worse than their bite. That's what I meant to say. Shopkeep owner in... Was this in Logtown? Yeah, I guess they have Logtown in here. I completely forgot we had Logtown. Shopkeep owner, I mean, he's the equivalent of a filler character, but he's the one that introduced one of the swords for Zoro that essentially carries him pretty much to the end of Marineford. Or is it till Thriller Bark? Anyways, what it helps. He does play a role, but there's really not much to it. Pearl. Pearl's better than these guys. Better than there. Yes, not better than the shop. The dog. No. If these two were in a fight, the dog would win. Hands down. Yeah, I would pay money to have that dog in a fight with Pearl. Pearl's literally... you know what? No. We're not even going to start that. I don't have that time. He falls in line. He's the mayor. Is he considered the mayor, or he's like the chieftain of the village? Stands up to Arlong at the beginning, stands up to him at the end. He just doesn't have any power behind him to back him up. Let's get some of Shanks' crew in here. Okay. Before we even knew his name, Ben Beckman was like above these guys. Above our main characters. Lucky Roo, above our main characters. Yasopp. At this time, I would say he's right here. Dragon is God. But Dragon's interesting because we're in chapter 1100 and we still know very little about him other than his relationship to Luffy. That's the only thing. I mean, that and the leader of the Revolutionary Army. Is there anything else we know about him? We believe he has a devil fruit, but nothing has been proven yet. Django. Hypnotist. Vents to turn Marine because he was too afraid to go to jail. Captain Buggy. We're going to put him at C. Kabaji is... Oh, sorry. Captain Buggy is A. Kabaji is B. And is it Choji? The Lion Tamer? Moji. Moji the Lion Tamer. I'm putting Alvida here. I'm not really a fan of it, but I'm putting her here. We'll see. The cow's going in super. The sea cow. I don't care what you say. If you've played the One Piece Treasure Cruise mobile game on your phone, you get to this point of the game fighting him, and it just it scales. I had such the hardest time because he's just such an HP pool. As far as the series goes, he doesn't. I mean, he should be down here, like, but I'm putting him here. Sue me. Okay. In Logtown, there's a filler episode where Usopp gains his. I don't know if it's considered full or filler, but it is a motivator. Usopp essentially wagers his life for some goggles against this guy, which he's also a bounty hunter. I think he used to be a Marine, but now he's a bounty hunter. I forget the motivator why that's there. But he has a daughter. She's easy to forget her name because I forgot and I don't really care. Let's just power through some of the fishmen. Hachan? Is it Hachan or Ha? Yeah, it's Hachan. Hakan? I'm putting him up here. In East Blue, he should be further down, but he does play a role. Like he's one of the fishermen pirates, but he's also a friend to Jinbei. He's just incredibly stupid. Like incredibly stupid. Shopkeep owner knows the story of Gold Roger, knows about the execution. Like Luffy kind of helps motivate him, plays a role in like a small. He's one of those that you don't forget, even though they're really like the equivalent of a filler character. Karate Master. B. Better than these guys. C. Better than Pearl. Nope. I don't feel it. Nami, there. Before we talk about that, Nami, she has that impact of like a motivator for needing help, from Luffy to get rid of Arlong, save her. But she also holds her own a lot of the times in her own fights, so she can, if put in a corner, she can fight and she can do it well. But she's never walking into a fight. She's the logical one. I have to. But the difference between Zoro and Sanji, in my humble opinion, is, as I mentioned, a lot of the times Zoro is injured or has some kind of detriment or something that's preventing him from being able to proceed further, while Sanji doesn't have a lot of those. He's just inherently good at what he does. And so Zoro's better but has things to hold him back, while Sanji's just inherently good. He just doesn't have, and he has a lot of good wins like throughout the entire series. Like he is a VIP character, but I feel that Zoro, if all circumstances worked favorably, would always win a fight against Sanji. S tier and Mihawk comes in, does a job, and leaves just like that. Doesn't have time to fool around. He's also the motivator for Zoro. I'll put Smoker. than the sea cow. There's no way he's god tier. All these people above him would walk over him every day. And Tashigi has a tendency of losing her glasses, or something happening with her glasses. She's kind of a ditz, very ditzy, is very accident prone, but is very intelligent. Um, yeah, let's kind of just go through this and see if there's any that should be moved up or down. Like I said, it's not a power scaling, it's just an influence in as well as how characters play in their progressive story. I mean, like I said, it's not really a better or worse, but the further down you are, the more likely you're closer to the other tiers. That feels right. Because you can be anonymous, but still be able to show, like, the differences of their introductions is worlds apart. He cuts up at a ship. He grabs a sword. Yeah. This is still early development years for these guys. These guys are experienced veterans. That makes sense. Yes. Yep, that's right. Over. Think about the legacy. There. Legacy plays a role, but this is the whole East Blue. Dog's going in front. I don't care. Yep. I think I did it. I mean, he's at the bottom of the barrel. Feel sad about putting Makino in here, so I'll put her like. She runs a bar, so she's at least competent. That's more to say than the vast majority of these ones below here. But yeah, I think it's gonna do it. That's it for this One Piece character ranking for the East Blue. We have Goldie Roger, Shanks, Dracu Mihawk, Dragon, the God tier. And in our F tier, we have Rio the Dragon, Patty and what's his name? Carrot, Onion, Pepper, Rika, Carmen, Iron Fist Full Body, Waste of Space, Gaimon, Nizumi, Shopkeep, and daughter of this guy. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or don't do that because I don't really care. Probably just going to continue on doing this because I enjoy breaking characters. And I've watched the series enough to feel that I could easily make more of this. But yeah, thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next video.